when the roof of your house collapses and a blizzard starts pouring straight into your living room. You don't sit down with 3 quotes and calmly pick the cheapest contractor. You call the first aggressive crew that answers the phone, and you pay whatever it takes not to freeze to death. That is exactly the level of urgency and quiet panic that has settled inside the offices of the Montreal Canadiens after the Sidney Crosby window slammed shut. Kent Hughes needed an emergency plan B. Not a pretty one, not a romantic one, just one that might save the season from sliding into the same old story. And the bomb that insider David Pagnotta just dropped on the NHL world is this. Plan B already has a name, a backstory, and a terrifying price tag. Nazem Kadri, Calgary Flames, $7 million a year. Today, we're going to rip open the dark side of this potential deal. We're going to break down the financial nightmare of paying superstar money to a 35-year-old, how hockey's swift justice crushed Calgary's megalomaniac project, and why, even with all the risk, Kadri might be exactly the wild dog our second line has been howling for. But before I put the numbers up on the board, I want your executive verdict. You're in Kent Hughes' chair. Do you burn 3 years of cap space on a 35-year-old center who knows exactly how to win a Stanley Cup? Or do you keep the books clean and accept that you're probably tossing another prime year of Nick Suzuki into the trash in the first round? Think like someone who hates losing, because this city is out of patience for excuses. Let's start in the West, where the ice is stained with regret. Right now, the Calgary Flames are one of the NHL's biggest graveyards for careers. A few years ago, they committed a cardinal sin. They lost Johnny Gaudreau. They lost Matthew Tkachuk. And in a desperate attempt to stay relevant, to send a message to their fans, they went full panic mode with the checkbook. They threw trucks of money at Nazem Kadri and tried to sell the illusion that nothing had changed. Everything changed. The team sank. The core lost its spark. Kadri's production fell off a cliff this season. Just 10 goals in 56 games. He's stuck on a team going nowhere, in a market that knows it, playing a system that no longer fits him. His motivation didn't just fade, it froze. But don't kid yourself into thinking he forgot how to play. This is Nazem Kadri. He's a wrecking ball on skates. He hasn't missed a regular season game in 3 years. He still carries that nasty edge, that street-smart hockey IQ that Martin St. Louis quietly craves in his lineup. And here's the detail that changes everything. Pagnotta reports that despite Kadri's no-move clause, behind closed doors he has signaled he would waive it for Montreal. He wants to compete again. He wants the lights of the Bell Center. He wants out of purgatory. That's where hockey's swift justice takes a swing at Montreal too. Kent Hughes spent weeks, months, really, waiting on a miracle named Sidney Crosby. He held back. He stayed out of certain bidding wars. He said, not yet on younger, more flexible options because the ultimate prize might fall from the sky. The karma of this sport doesn't forgive waiting for miracles. Crosby re-signed. Pittsburgh surged. And suddenly, the Canadiens were left exactly where they started, staring at the same gaping hole behind Nick Suzuki. You know what the punishment is for a team that waits too long in this league? It's being forced to consider Nazem Kadri at $7 million a year for 3 more full seasons. It's tying a financial time bomb to your neck while your young core is still growing. This is a tax on passivity. But if there's one advantage Montreal still has, it's this. Calgary is just as desperate as we are. They want out of this deal. They want to rip off the bandage, clear Kadri's cap hit, and hit the reset button on a full rebuild. That desperation flips the leverage. It gives Kent Hughes something extremely rare in the NHL, the ability to dictate terms. Montreal doesn't have to pay a fortune in prospects. They don't have to touch Lane Hudson or David Reinbacher. They don't even have to send a top pick if they play this right. What they can do is say, we'll take Kadri, but you're retaining salary. If Calgary is willing to eat 2, maybe even $3 million of that AAV for the remaining years, everything changes. Kadri at $7 million until 2029 is a hand grenade. Kadri at $4 or $5 million. Suddenly, that's a contract you can squint at and say, maybe. And that's where this gamble becomes interesting. Because underneath the cap number, Kadri is still the exact archetype you dream of for playoff hockey. He's a center who can play in your top 6. He can match up against stars. He lives in the dirty areas. He scores ugly, He draws penalties, and he drags teams into the mud. Ask Colorado if they win that Stanley Cup without him. They don't. The question is not, can Kadri help? Of course he can. The question is, can you live with the cost? If he comes in and gives you 2 seasons of 25 to 30 goals, hard minutes, and chaos down the middle, no one will care about the third year of the deal until they get there. But if he arrives and never finds his gear again, if Calgary broke him mentally, if the miles finally caught up, then you're stuck. Stuck with a 36 and 37-year-old making top-line money while you're trying to extend Slavkovsky, protect Demidov's future deal, and maybe even keep another big piece or two. This is a tightrope Kent Hughes is walking. And there's another layer. The kids. Oliver Kapanen has burst onto the scene. Michael Hage is coming. The prospect pool is full of centers who need a path, not a wall. Bringing in Kadri means pushing at least one young center further down the depth chart for multiple years. You're not just buying Kadri. You're buying delay. But maybe that's exactly what you want. Maybe you don't want Hage rushing into the NHL fire at 20 with the weight of a franchise on his shoulders. Maybe you want Kapanen learning how to play playoff hockey while Kadri absorbs the big minutes and the big hits. Because here's the dirty secret of this whole situation. For all the talk of the future, Montreal's present matters now. Suzuki is in his prime. Caulfield is in his prime. Slavkovsky is arriving. You don't get infinite years where everyone is still young and cheap and hungry. At some point, you have to decide if you're chasing banners or just collecting prospects. That's why this isn't just a cap debate. It's an identity test. Are the Canadiens ready to say, we're done waiting? We want to scare people in April right now? If the answer is yes, then Kadri, especially with retention, is almost tailor-made. Put it behind Suzuki, ahead of Danoff, and suddenly that center spine looks like something you can win a series with. Maybe 2. If the answer is no, if you believe you're still 2 years away, then Kadri becomes less of a weapon and more of a weight. So I'm dropping the negotiation board right in your lap. Calgary calls. They say, Nazem Kadri will waive his no-move clause from Montreal. We'll retain $2 million per year. You give us a second-round pick and a mid-level prospect. Do you hit the green button and embrace 3 years of Kadri's chaos, leadership, and postseason experience, knowing full well you're tying up a good chunk of cap space until 2029? Or do you hang up, keep your cap clean, swallow another playoffs where Suzuki gets mauled without enough help, and tell yourself, we'll be better positioned in 2 or 3 years? It's not a right or wrong question. It's a who are you question. If you're the version of the Canadiens that wants to arrive early, punch above your age, and make noise now, Kadri is your kind of gamble. If you're the version that wants everything perfectly aligned, no dead money, no aging deals, then you pass, and hope that one of the kids grows up fast enough to make you forget about what might have been. So tell me, Habs Nation, are you ready to pay $7 million or $5 million with retention for a 35-year-old center who plays like it's Game 7 in January? Or do you keep the powder dry and accept that this year your ceiling is limited? Drop your verdict in the comments. Don't sugarcoat it. Lay out the deal you'd accept or why you'd refuse no matter what. The Bell Center is boiling. The deadline clock is ticking, and Kent Hughes can't have it both ways. And don't even think about looking away. While Montreal draws up its contingency plan, a bomb just went off on the other coast. The Los Angeles Kings have quietly put together a secret offer that includes their top scorer to steal a brutal, game-changing defenseman who could tilt the entire balance of the league. Who is this monster on the blue line, and how does that deal threaten Montreal's path? We break that down in the next video. Stay tuned.